This is your Under Southern Screens spoiler warning. We forgot to do it again. Really, really sorry. If you haven't seen Peter Weir's 1974 film, The Cars That Ate Paris, watch it right now. It's a fantastic watch. Mitch, me, and a very special guest spent a very lengthy amount of time gushing over it this episode. So we'd highly recommend you watch it before listening to this podcast. But if you have watched it, you're a very cool dude, and enjoy this episode of Under Southern Screens.
I am the Night Rider.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Talk to me.
You gonna do that pogo?
You ain't talking to the cop. Today is a brand new day.
No, that's it. It's the vibe.
G'day, fellow Aussie film lovers, and welcome to another episode of Under Southern Screens, the most car crash-prone Australian cinema podcast. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Matthew, and that sounds very, very dangerous. I hope that the TAC isn't watching this video. It might be dangerous.
Yep. Yes, sir.
That was a great bit. Anyway.
Sorry, guys. We're a little nervous today because we do have a special guest on.
We have someone in the room. I mean, like, to be honest with you, Mitch, I'm just tired of two white cis men taking the reins on film discussion, mansplaining film. Like, it's just disappointing. Like, I'm sick of it, which is why we have got a very special guest this week on Under Southern Screens. She is a Melbourne-based director, writer. She used to be in fashion. She's done a lot of cool stuff. She's making moves in the Australian comedy sphere. She is face palming as I'm saying this. She is dressed up as a gorilla. It's Alex Slater, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going, Alex?
Oh my gosh, guys. Thank you for having me on this amazing, delightful, fabulous, awesome, needed podcast. I'm so happy to be here.
For being here.
We needed you, Alex. That's actually what we needed. It's,
oh my gosh.
The adrenaline hit that this podcast required to keep it going.
You're giving us a lift, Alex.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. I'm excited to mansplain some stuff. Woman's
Yes.
Get it all going.
Get women in men's fields.
Yes, literally. That's why I'm in film. I'm here to take over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm reclaiming the film industry for women only.
Take your
As you should,
space.
man, honestly, it's about
Yes.
time. I don't want to spoil what we're watching, but this is a ride, and it's something that you've picked, Alex.
I did. This film is one of my favorite films of all time, and it became one of my favorite films the moment I saw it.
Love it first watch.
Love it first watch at the Australian Centre for the Moving Image, aka ACME. I saw it on the big screen as part of a retrospective they did for this director. And it's insane. It's a crazy movie. I don't know how it got made.
Do you want to introduce it for us?
This week on Under Southern Screens, we are watching Peter Weir's The Cars That Ate Paris.
Hell yeah.
From 1974.
Directorial debut. How? What is going on?
It's actually his second.
Is it
not?
really?
No one has ever seen his first feature, and I haven't watched it, and apparently it's like whatever. But
It's a thing.
Well, as a second movie, this one's also insane.
Yeah, I think it's just a trend that early stage Peter Weir is just off the chain. You've written an intro for this, right, Alex? We can get into it?
yeah, we can get into the intro.
Let's get straight into
Let's
it. I'd
go.
love to hear it.
The legacy of colonization lives on through a parking ticket. When you arrive in the small rural country town of Paris, fear only the extreme guilt, brittle authority complex, and a heavy dose of utter human decency and complacency. Of course, I am only telling you this, dear listener, because I have, in the past few minutes, grown quite fond of you. I think you ought to listen a little longer. No, don't run away. Come back now. Sit down. Here, have a cup of tea on the Commonwealth, a courtesy for your trouble. Nor, perhaps, our new addition to the icebox, a Coca-Cola. It's cool, it's refreshing, and it will help you forget that. The Cars That Ate Paris, quite literally, and in true 70s horror fashion, with a portion of fantastic practical effects, dissects Australia's societal playing dress-up, cultural anxieties, and identity crises, all wrapped in material comforts. A mink coat, perhaps. This film is as punk rock as it gets. Peter Weir's sick, twisted, and highly biographical mechanable town of Paris is the wrong turn you do not want to take late at night. Paris is a town that specializes in theft, cowardice, sagging bosoms, and lobotomies. But boy, are the people polite! This is the world we live in. The world of the motor car. The Cars That Ate Paris is Australian director Peter Weir's cracked second feature, released on Country 52 years ago on the 10th of October 1974. The film follows a young, bashful, and deeply traumatized gentleman, Arthur Waldo, played by the delightful Terry Camilleri, after he survives a late-night car accident that kills his brother George in the fictional small rural town known as Paris. The tragedy leads him to the town's small community where he is welcomed with open arms, even being offered comfortable accommodation with the mayor, Len Kelly, played by Rick Scully, and his assorted, to say the least, family unit. His stay in Paris introduces Arthur to a myriad of crooked characters, including an insane experimental doctor, malevolent local council members, a scummy, self-obsessed police officer who unfortunately is swaggy as hell, and a gang of G'd-up youths who drive an impressive and creative convoy of smashed converter vehicles like you've never seen before. Soon enough, it is discovered that this town called Paris is not as demure as once presumed. It's caught in the jowls of a big, dirty, greased-up secret of psycho-murderous proportions. Weir was inspired to write the outline of the film during a trip to London with his wife. He was on a study grant to observe aspects of feature filmmaking. Dope, and describes an incident in London as its main inspiration. In its realization, The Cars That Ate Paris was filmed on Wiradjuri country in an old gold rush town called Sofala in the Australian state of New South Wales. The film was mostly funded by what was then the Australian Film Development Corporation, which was a government funding body that was established in 1970 under Liberal Prime Minister John Gorton, just 2 years before the film's release. The AFDC was a cornerstone in the Australian film industry's revival and a huge contributor to what was later recognised as Australia's first new wave film movement. The film was released in the early 70s in Australia, a time described as a shock to the system, as we moved from Conservative power into a Labor government under Gough Whitlam that chaperoned many major social and cultural evolutions. Perhaps a teething phase that also brought about generational anxieties and controversies of counterculture and the recognition of Aboriginal ownership and land rights. Unsurprisingly, and as per usual, The Cars That Ate Paris struggled to find an audience here in Australia upon its initial release. Boo. It did, however, become a cult favourite, and after changing marketing campaigns and distributor, it was released in America in 1976 as The Cars That Eat People, with a shortened runtime and a dubbing of Terry Camilleri's voice.
Damn.
In the US, it was received by audiences as a mere offbeat comedy rather than a major success. Boo times 2. Which brings us to today, where The Cars That Ate Paris is now treasured as a part of our national filmography and is quoted internationally as inspiration material across many action, thriller, and horror films. The obvious example being George Miller's classic Mad Max. Though nothing beats Peter Weir's Strange Madness, which is why the film is one of my favourites ever of all time.
As it should be, man.
Thank you.
That's it.
And that's the podcast, guys.
Did I cover all the bases?
No, I'm so glad you mentioned Mad Max because it's just so there, isn't it? Like the
uncanny.
DNA of what will become possibly like the most famous Australian film export is like running straight through this.
100%.
I was watching this, I was kind of going, this is kind of like if David Lynch directed Mad Max.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well.
It's very Lynchian. That's a great read. It is very Lynchian in its sound
It's
and
got
aura.
like the Twin Peaks vibes to it.
Totally.
And I was like watching, I was like, oh man, it's like, I love a film where the town is just a bunch of creepy little weirdos who know something is up and they got schemes and they're doing creepy crap. And just watching this, I was like, oh yes, come on, give me these creepy little guys, and they're just all being weird and wacky. And this poor gentleman is just trying to like live his best life, and he's just continuously being like creeped
he gets
out.
absorbed
He
into
just
the
gets
weirdness.
dragged into
He
it.
does. It's kind of a noir in a way, the
It
way
is,
his character
yeah.
changes. Obviously, Picnic at Hanging Rock is like the next step from that tone. It has a similar eeriness,
Yeah.
and I feel like Peter Weir's directing style, he allows a lot of space between moments, and he does that with sound and like parallels and things like that.
I think Picnic at Hanging Rock and Cars That Ate Paris are similar in a lot of ways, but I think this film is just excess to the max, whereas something like Picnic at Hanging Rock is very airy and it takes time to breathe. It reminded me a lot of like Do the Right Thing, for example, where it is that building tension, that brooding.
Like there's different factions who are all like running towards a conflict at the very end. Which,
Exactly, and it all just lights up at the end with a bunch of blood and exploitation goodness, man. It's just so, it's...
because, you know, the cars are these proto Mad Max type things, so
legit.
they're insane is the most insane one, which is like got all these spikes on it and stuff. And it just has that guy who stands in the middle of the road and just gets like mulched.
He
by
gets
it.
spiked, brother.
It's fantastic.
But then you have like the hero moment in quotation marks arc for Arthur where he finally gets over his fear of cars just to like ram a guy like 17
He's like,
times.
I can drive.
Yes, it's awesome. He gets out and it's like this horrible moment, and like because like any other movie, you know, he'd get over this to like do something heroic, but in this he just like backed into it like a young man like 17 times, crushed it. All of us though have got the universal experience of a dad-like figure standing out in front of the car being like,
come on boy,
all right, back now, forward, like as you're learning how to drive.
I think the comedy in this movie is amazing. It was meant to be a comedy originally and then was rewritten into more of a horror thriller.
I reckon it's still hilarious.
It's so funny. The start is incredibly funny.
The Tropic Thunder style, like fake commercial style.
The ideal Australian family.
The cold open is awesome. Apparently, the intro is a spoof of a very popular Australian, I think it's a cigarette ad. I might need to be fact checked. But do you guys remember that old YouTube video that's like scary car ad or something? And it's like a car driving through the forest and then it jump scares you at the end.
Yeah, I know that one. That's iconic.
But yeah, you've got this fabulous Australian ideal couple of the era, long 70s blonde hair. They've got their schnauzer. They're getting in the convertible.
He's got an incred moustache.
You know, the lush countryside.
They go past a drover with his sheep and they're herding. It's like idealistic Australian trade and
then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, the axle just like breaks and they crash and die.
It's phenomenal. They're drinking Coca-Cola. Like, it's so phenomenal. And
it is a microcosm of the themes of the movie as well, because for all those that haven't seen this, it's essentially a metaphor for Vietnam and the sort of the tensions between, you know, the younger progressive generation and your more conservative stuffy shirt types, right? And so I think it is that thing of emphasizing that this is the ideal modern boomer Australian family lifestyle or whatever, and then it gets cut down by exploitation in the first 5 minutes.
And it immediately cuts to a parallel road trip happening between our main character, Arthur, his brother, George, and I swear there's a third guy, but I can't remember what happens to him.
They're kind of like schlubby.
They're looking for work. Yeah, they're schlubby. They're in a fucking hatchback.
They have a trailer where you can assume all their belongings
they're like essentially homeless and jobless, and they're driving on awful roads.
They live off the land.
There's a bit where they go up to this building that's like the Commonwealth Job Scheme and get sent away.
Yeah, the guy comes out and is like, nah, everyone from this point onwards, bugger off, sorry.
There's a fabulous shot, which is the backdrop to the directed by Peter Weir text, which is a man drinking a Coca-Cola outside a milk bar. And there's all these amazing newspapers behind him, which say just like reading between the lines, currency crisis, Pope prays. Which the craft of the start of this film in terms of just preparing you for the type of story you're going to hear, it like covers the humor, it covers the themes, it covers the setting all very quickly. So I feel like alluding to this new idea of Australia post-World War II, enter Vietnam era, like we've had these wars happen, it's becoming recognised as a much more multicultural country rather than just a white settlement.
Exactly, migration boom, absolutely.
Migration boom, and I think, yes, this is one of the anxieties of the era, which the film is discussing as well.
Guys, is Peter Weir woke?
Peter Weir's woke. This film is woke as hell.
I know, oh my god.
No wonder why it didn't do well, because if you go woke, you go broke. You know what I'm saying? You guys get it.
One part that immediately stems to mind, I know you mentioned like the colonization angle at the start of it, Alex, like the moment when he's making the rousing speech about having to seize the...
Yeah, he's like constantly talking about pioneers and stuff. Yeah,
it's just like the most hypocritical thing of all time, especially considering he has like an indigenous person's like as a lawn gnome or some sort of ornament out the front of his house.
A lawn ornament, yes, which were very popular from the 50s all the way through till semi-recently. Yeah, so gross. Similar type of decor to the Gollywog.
Yeah, right.
The scene when the cars destroy the mayor's house and they hit the statue of the Aboriginal person and that breaks in half, the mayor immediately grabs the head and takes it inside, which I think, and leaves the legs. I thought that was a very woke moment from Mr. Weir.
He calls it my Aboriginal as well, which I think was like a massive pinpoint of just like, dude, you don't know what the flip you're talking about.
Don't
man.
they even
it's
like the police officer even goes like the mayor's Aboriginal or something? Like it's so like
For the time that this film came out and like for the fact it kind of predated the Whitlam government as well, makes some extremely challenging points about our relationships to colonization as white people.
Absolutely.
And it does it very subtly. So it's kind of hard to read into. And this is something about the Cars That Ate Paris that I'm glad you guys are talking about in your podcast. There's lots of American podcasts that talk about this film. They don't quite have the historical knowledge or like the contextual knowledge of Australian culture to like read between the lines of a lot of things. So they purely view it as like a exploitation horror.
Yeah, as a literal sort
just
of,
about materialism. And I think that's one part of the film. But I also think Peter Weir is making a plethora of incredibly brave statements for the time that this film came out. And it's no wonder it didn't do well at the cinema at the time. And I really wish Peter Weir would come out of recluse and talk about this film more, because it's only grows more relevant.
I liked this movie a lot more than I liked Picnic.
I 100% agree. I think that this has more to say, and it's much more imaginative in the way it conveys its narrative. All of the technical aspects I think are superior. Like, I think the soundtrack is better. I think that the cinematography and action set pieces are more well constructed. And even though we lose that sort of mystery, that airiness, like, I mean, it is there in Cars, but like, it's not that type of movie, and I think it's a much more captivating watch as a result.
It's totally captivating. The cinematography is beautiful, and actually there's a very interesting montage as well. Just speaking on the cinematography, there's only one montage like it in the movie, and it's just a bunch of vignettes of the town people. There's a kid sitting in a tire playing with tools. There's an old lady on her veranda like polishing car parts. They're done in this very American photojournalism style with like bright sun, like very Western, which I thought was very interesting. Like another theme of the movie that I love, and I don't think many Australian films at all do this anymore, but Peter Weir's Cars That Ate Paris really challenges Australia's absolutely blinding allegiance to the USA.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And I think the irony writes itself in the way that this film was received by the US, Australia, and then also how it's been heavily inspiring to other Australian films that got pushed through the Hollywood system and became very Americanized, like Mad Max, and kind of promoting these views of our culture. I've never seen a film that challenges this relationship as much as this film does.
Which is so relevant for like today.
And for all the stuff that was happening in the 70s, it was just like such a brave statement to make. I don't know if I'm just reading into it too much nowadays, but every time I watch it, I'm just like, it's incredible that he was just saying this stuff like at that time.
It's a scathing comment on radicalization, I believe. Like that whole
totally
the spearheading of the mayor's character. Like,
he's so creepy and like wacky.
This is a good segue. I just wanted to touch on that one of that final scenes in the big commotion of it all, where Arthur is backing into the car under the guidance of the mayor, while dressed as a naval officer, is probably the most on the nose touch point and like criticism of the military complex. And this is a man who's like has been traumatized by killing people and is now happy to kill people, and all ends with him hopping out of this car, bloodied man behind him, and he jumps out and goes, "I can drive," and smiles and walks off. And I just think it's so genius for the time. I was like, it's awesome.
You know, I've made a lot of comparisons to films to compare with Cars That Ate Paris, but I think another great one would be American Graffiti, George Lucas's film. It is the polar opposite of that, because in American Graffiti, it's talking about the freeness of the American teenager, the cruising car culture. It romanticizes it, it idolizes it. Here, it's coming from the other perspective of, here's the conservative generation that is stuck in their ways while the world is changing around them. And it's just such a fantastic exploration of how conservatives, they radicalize themselves into having the wool over their eyes. Do you know what I mean?
The metaphor in the film runs so strong, and also going hand in hand with structures of authority and power that come generationally, and still, no matter how soft and gentle and free the youth may be, can still totally become victims of it. Yeah, Arthur's character, he's so bashful and gentle and kind of goes along with everything and is fine. Yeah. But in the end of the day, he gets hollowed out like one of those cars through very manipulative means of love and family and promise of safety.
And taking advantage of his trauma,
It's literally how people get radicalized to join the military. That's so obvious. And it's always overlooked when people review this film and talk about it.
You know what else other people also overlook? That he looks a lot like a greasy Sean Penn. That's all I'm going to say. That's
And I'll just leave that there.
That's the most cutting comment I've made this episode.
Do you guys reckon that Bruce Spencer's character is kind of like where Arthur would have ended up if it wasn't for like...
I see that. I actually do see that.
Because he's like, Bruce Spencer's like a young man. We don't really know a lot about him as a character in this. He actually kind of goes rogue a bit and he just blows the head off the priest as he's driving along, which is, by the way, really funny, but like in a messed up way.
Or the doctor or the mayor describes this character as a experiment gone wrong.
I'm wondering if it's like they tried the same thing on Arthur as they did with this guy, but they're refining like what they're doing.
Yeah.
But Arthur like luckily gets like kind of kicked out of that experiment through, like, as you said, the violent insurrection at the end of the film. I just felt like I had to bring up Bruce Spence because I would have like kicked myself if I didn't bring him up.
No, he's also a great character in the film.
Great character, but also just like important actor in Australia.
Yeah,
like, Australian,
was this one of his first roles, I believe? Yeah, like because he was in Mad Max 2 after this, and that was sort of his Hollywood break. And yeah, he's been in pretty much every Australian movie under the sun.
He's got such a look.
He was in Stork as Graham Stork Wallace and Moving On the same year.
So it was like early career for him.
Very early career, yeah. Like he's an Australian legend.
Yeah.
I find this movie so fascinating as a directorial debut as well, because I mean, this is a movie where, and I think this is what's lost in modern directorial debuts in cinema. It's a director who has a point to make. That's their own personal view. And he's just gone out and made it his own, and it's like a cultural expository manifesto in its sense. And I think that is such a lost art in modern cinema, just genuinely, like someone who has nothing to prove and has just said, here's what I think in movie form. It's just, good stuff, Peter Weir.
Totally, very well said.
Cool. We're still kissing America's butt.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
still,
like, the mayor is fucking red pill as hell.
But he has zero aura.
He literally has fucking no aura.
He did an impromptu rap number in the middle of that.
Oh my god, I've
thing.
got that up. It's like a random war cry, and they paused the horrible music they were playing anyway on repeat the whole time.
it was like
to
a
all
little
come
brown
together.
jug on piano.
I love that piano music so much.
Yeah.
That music is so funny. And then like the old lady gets up from the piano and then it's like, now the kids are gonna bust it down.
Yeah, literally, they're like, all right, lock it. Woomera, woomera, babalook, boomerang.
Babadook.
It's woomera, woomera, babalook, boomerang, crocodile, kookaburra, wombat, orangutan, weho, weho, terra, mungameen, quandong, billabong, gundabluey pine, platypus, emu, wallaby, roo, ibis, brolgula, and white cockatoo, marama, cowra, colomon, banko, boggabri, narromine, nevertai, yanko.
Yes. Slay.
Apparently Yanko is an agricultural school where all the boys, I was looking it up, all the boys wear cowboy hats there.
We have not moved on at all as a country. What is orangutan? What does that have to do with
I have no
Australia?
idea why orangutan's in there.
Mate, sometimes it's for the rhyme.
It kind of sounds like, when you're saying it, I feel like an Eshe speaking in like pig Latin.
Bulagoo,
Yeah, literally. It feels like,
Yeah.
wanted to talk about Eshes in regards to this film, because I feel like Eshes are our modern equivalent of what this car gang was in the film.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
where they're
genuinely.
like hella swag. They've got swag in their own unique subculture.
They're dripped out.
Which is weaponized by people of more prestige. And they're laughed at and they're kind of like a cultural icon. As soon as they can't be controlled by the upper class, they become weapons in themselves.
Should we be nicer to them? Should we
Yes!
be nicer to the Cowboys?
I think we should all befriend an Eshe. Everybody go befriend an Eshe before the end of the week.
That's your homework.
That's your
homework.
You better do it, or else we're ending the podcast.
Yeah.
Send a picture at Under Sun Screens Pod.
Send a photo with an Eshe at a local train station. We'd love to see it.
Yes,
Do be careful though. If they're in a roving gang, you may get stabbed.
Yeah.
Stay careful out there, guys.
And don't talk to the one that says they owned Frankston, because that one, he's the king.
Don't look him in the eye either. That's a sign of disrespect.
There's many a rule. Yeah, the way the town of Paris operates economically is kind of fascinating as well, where obviously they're causing car accidents. Everyone in the town participates in tearing apart these cars to sell for parts, or they trade it for basic goods like beans and clothing and medication.
Because it's such an insane economy. Of course, something was insane was going to crash it eventually.
Yes, it very much felt like a vignette, and in that way, it kind of feels realistic. I was like,
Yeah.
this could have happened. Like, who
At the
knows?
very least, the mayor, who you can kind of assume represents the ideals that a lot of the townspeople hold. You parodied this in your intro. Like, he's like, this place is like beautiful and excellent, and who would want to leave here? And this little town of Paris, isn't it great? You know, like he gasses it up so much, and yet it just is this. I've been to 17 towns like Paris. I've like driven straight through them.
It is the sassafras of New South Wales.
Yeah.
It's like
Were the pictures that they were showing at the start, where they're doing like that test and it's like all these things.
the
He's
psych test.
So that's one of my favorite jokes of the whole film when he shows all these pictures. Then he goes, "I really should have been a photographer or something." Like he reveals that he took all these really fucked up photos.
Yeah, it's so good. Which means
It's so
but
funny.
Is that picture of the car crash? Is that his brother?
I don't know, but I took a photo of it.
Why'd you take a photo of it, Alex?
Because it's
the
so
lack-
crazy. I don't think it's his brother. He's got curly hair.
Insane that that's the only color picture in the whole thing that he shows.
He's doing this image-based psychiatry test on poor Arthur, who's very traumatized and is afraid of cars. Basic images: a tree, a house, a family, and then he put a very graphic color image of a car crash. And Arthur goes smash. Which is funny by today's standards. The doctor corrects him and goes, accident. And then Arthur is like a slap on the hand, and then every time he keeps showing Arthur these car accident images, and
He knows what to say.
yes, he knows. It's very early on. They're brainwashed in that poor fellow.
It ties into like that part around the middle where Bruce Spence shoots the priest, and it's like it was a
Shooting accident.
Yes.
shooting
Yes.
accident. That's right. Yeah.
They love the accident.
Insane that this movie's rated like only M or something like
Right?
that. Like there is like brain matter in that photo that they show at the end there.
Insane
and, like,
levels of gore and implied incest later on in the movie, which is another scene I really want to talk about because it's so funny.
What an insane thing to say, Alex.
Why not now? Yeah.
Incest is not funny, but this scene is just like, the dialogue is so funny.
We gotta get the incest in.
Yes,
get
I've
the
got to get the
incest
incest in. It's
Putting so much pressure
Yes.
on it.
No! Well, as a child of incest myself.
Whoa!
No, just kidding.
Law drop.
You heard it here first.
It's my one red flag. Sorry, love my mum and dad. That's not true.
Shout out to Alex's mum and dad.
Yes, fabulous people. And not siblings, actually. So Arthur's trying to run away after church. The mayor catches up with him in the bush and basically seduces him back into Paris by asking Arthur very sincerely if he would like to become his son. This is after it's been revealed that the mayor's two daughters are adopted as victims of car accidents as well, which is why...
Which they obviously caused.
And then, in a very manly way, emphasizes to Arthur that he thinks he may have a connection with his wife in a romantic sense. Just mental. And then Arthur goes, yeah, sure.
Like, what else are you going to do in that situation, though? Yeah.
Exactly. You've already gone down so many levels. It's like, oh, well.
Like, how old is Arthur? Is he like in his 30s or something?
Yeah, I think he's like mid-30s.
Imagine being adopted as a 30-year-old man.
It's so twisted.
It's so funny.
It's a flabbergasting scene in a long line of flabbergasting scenes.
I loved this. This was great. Awesome movie. Probably my favorite movie I've seen on this podcast so far.
Oh my
honestly.
God. That's so flattering.
Alex has set the bar this week. For
Yeah.
USS. It's like,
Yeah, from the moment I saw this movie, and I'm so grateful the first time I saw it was in a cinema.
I watched it on my computer, and I feel
Same.
like I've done a disservice by doing that.
Yes, this film really changed me. I think it radicalized me to just think more brashly about our culture here in Australia and to not be afraid of making something f***ed. I want to remake it, but if someone else wants to, that's fine too. I don't think it would ever get funded nowadays, but a remake of this movie could be amazing.
Man, it's a bankable IP. You know what I mean?
It is, and it's just so relevant.
We could Trojan Horse a remake of this.
You can Matrix Resurrections this. Just make it a commentary.
We lie to Screen Australia.
I mean, maybe we shouldn't put this part into the podcast
Yeah, I
in
was
case they
going to
ever
say
listen to this.
we might have just incriminated ourselves live on tape. But hey,
we're going to Trojan Horse The Cars That Ate Paris again.
The Cars That Ate Paris, second helping.
2 cars to Paris.
Yeah.
I think we're going to make it in this business. Anyway,
We've got this.
Should we wrap it up there? Alex, I need to ask you a question that we ask every one of our guests on this podcast.
Yes.
We've only had one guest, so we're going to ask you, what is the most Australian thing about 1974's The Cars That Ate Paris?
The most Australian thing about 1974's The Cars That Ate Paris is absolutely how debaucherous it is. Like, it's such a fucked up film, but I don't know any other film that, like, Australia is just such a fucked up place. Like, it's so wrong. Everything's wrong and backwards, and everyone's just fighting for their lives to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Australia is so what the hell sure. And The Cars That Ate Paris is so what the hell sure. Like, that's all I can say about it. It's dusty, it's bloody,
It's awesome.
it's fucking fucking awesome. It's so awesome.
What more do you want?
Is that even a good answer?
No, I love it. No, yeah, it's
That was
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold back, and I literally don't think at the rate our industry is at and the way our funding works in this country, a film like this will ever be made again. If David Walsh, if you're listening, if you want to fund us to remake The Cars That Ate Paris, because I think you're the only person in Australia that could do that and would do that.
Give us money.
Let me know, because we're just like dancing around the fact that our shit is chopped.
Yeah.
We are chopped country.
We're a chopped country, and through that choppedness and terrible history, we can build something new and beautiful and scary and amazing and intimidating. And like in my intro, I deliberately said the first new wave movement because I feel like we have an even more fucked new wave coming.
Actually, yes.
In the future.
When the tide goes out, it just comes back in.
Yes, it does. And we love to surf, so we're going to hit that barrel and just shaka do.
This episode's so dense with
Put on your
Miranda.
Quicksilver, put on your Billabong and catch that wave, okay?
Screw you, international audiences.
Yeah.
This one's for us, bro.
This one's for the Aussies.
It's just fantastic. I could talk about this film forever. Sorry, guys.
And we want to hear you talk about it more. But,
Yes.
but where can the audience hear more of you, Alex?
You can hear more of me. I'm pretty silent these days online, but you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Captain Girl. Captain spelt normally, but girl spelt GRL, because I'm cool like that.
Yeah, cool like that.
I'm trying to work on my presence as a filmmaker online, but I'm not very
It's
good
hard
at
out
it.
there. It's hard.
It's tough.
You can get in contact with us on the Southern Screens at TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at On the Southern Screens Pod, or
Yes, you can.
you can email us at onthe-southern-screens-pod@gmail.com.
Still waiting for that photo with an Eshe. You got to do it, guys. Whoever's listening.
Yeah, you got to hit
make
us
it
with that
happen.
photo.
Eshe photo is necessary. And Peter Weir, if you're listening, you should go take a photo with an Eshe.
Yeah, do that, Peter. You aren't doing much else these days, mate.
Yeah.
I'll pay you everything I have. It's not a lot. It's like $3.
If
But
Peter Weir comes on this podcast, guys, I don't have to
Yeah,
guest
well-
on it, but I will. Can I listen to the live
You
recording
can be in the room.
so I can look at him?
I would honestly like try and make it that we do this podcast in person if we get Peter Weir like on this. I want to meet this man.
At Hanging Rock.
Oh my gosh, at Hanging Rock.
He's slowly becoming my favorite director of all time.
He's phenomenal.
Yes. That would
What am I-
screw with our recording because outside sucks to record him, but
we would make the effort, damn
the
it.
pan flute would be there too. Like
That
it'd
would be
awesome.
Alex. That would be Alex in the background.
Yes, I do a live pan flute intro to Peter Weir.
You heard it here first, Peter. We're planning around you.
Just tell us when and where. We will drop everything
The
to
ball's
do it.
in your court.
Yeah, you won't.
We dare you.
Alex, I just want to say you've been an absolute joy this week, Alex. Like, thank you so much
It
for
has been
coming
awesome
on.
to have
Yeah.
you on.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. That was so much fun. I love to talk about that movie, obviously, and nice to catch up with you guys too. What the
No,
heck?
it's so cool. Yeah.
That's it,
Do you
yeah.
want to say our little sign off? Like the
I don't think she listens to the podcast like that, brother.
I will now.
Bro, acting like we were like an established podcast.
Hey.
Say the catchphrase, Alex.
Say the bit. I'm like,
if you wanted to like do it, it's like
okay, what is it? I'll do it.
But first, let's say what we're watching next week before we
Yes,
sign
that's a good
off.
point.
We're watching 10 Canoes, which is our first Indigenous film for Under Southern Screens. I'm so excited. I've never actually seen it before.
It also marks our 10th episode.
Yeah, so it's on brand. We're calculated like that, me and Mitch.
10
You know,
for 10. You know what I'm saying?
I'm amazed we made it this far. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for watching and listening. Whatever you do, see you next week, y'all.
Bye.
And keep an eye on those southern screens.
Hell yeah. Woo.
Keep a southern eye on those screens.
Under.
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 We nailed it. See you next week, guys. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Under Southern Screens. We'll be back next week to talk more films down under. We just want to attribute that our opening title is Heavy Duty by Zoo, and our closing title is Heavyweight by Fell Creek. Thanks so much for listening, and Mitch and I will see you in the next episode. See you next time. Under Southern Screens would like to acknowledge the stolen lands on which this podcast is recorded and produced, and pay tribute to the Wurundjeri and Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation and Camaragal people of the Eora Nation.
Sovereignty was never ceded, and we pay respect to all Indigenous elders, past, present, and emerging. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.